I used to believe that the biggest threats to your well-being came from outside your home: scammers, strangers, institutions. I never imagined it would be someone who smiled at me across the dinner table, someone who offered to help for my own good. My name isn't important. What matters is how easily trust can be twisted into a weapon, how financial abuse can creep in under the mask of family love. When I married Adam, I genuinely thought I was stepping into a partnership. He was sweet, dependable, a little too attached to his mother, but I chalked it up to being a good son. Evelyn, his mother, was polite on the surface, but there was always this tone, comments that didn't quite land right. She'd compliment my job as if surprised I could hold one. She'd drop hints about how some women just aren't domestic, and always with a smile. It didn't seem worth confronting. I'd seen worse. I figured she'd warm up to me in time. I was wrong. Looking back, I can see how it started with subtle control. Evelyn was always around, offering advice, checking in just to see how things were going, insisting she help us make better financial decisions. I worked full-time and handled most of our budgeting, while Adam was between jobs when we married. I didn't mind carrying the weight for a while. He said he was figuring things out, and I wanted to believe in him. But over time, things shifted. Evelyn began taking a more active role in our finances, without me asking. At first, it was small. Things, recommending a financial advisor, reviewing our mortgage paperwork, just in case. She framed it as caring, responsible. I told myself it was harmless, even generous. But generosity can have strings, and Evelyn was an expert in pulling them. One moment she was offering help, and the next, she was questioning my choices. "Maybe you should save more aggressively," she'd say. Or, "Are you sure you understand the long-term implications of that refinance?" Adam never pushed back. He'd just nod along, echoing her concerns, slowly starting to treat me like a liability instead of a partner. I didn't see the full picture then, but I felt the shift. I felt myself being edged out of decisions that used to be mine. Then came the medical emergency. A minor surgery, routine. I was in recovery for a few days, heavily medicated and barely coherent. That's when it happened, when the paper was signed. I don't remember signing anything, but somehow, a power of attorney ended up in Evelyn's hands, complete with my signature. At first, I didn't even know it existed. I only found out much later, after everything had unraveled. At the time, I was focused on healing, trying to get back to work, trying to feel normal again. Meanwhile, behind my back, Evelyn was setting up the next phase of her plan. It started small, a few missed emails, financial updates that didn't come to me anymore, forms that looked unfamiliar but had my name on them. I remember asking Adam about a bank statement that showed a withdrawal I didn't recognize. He said Evelyn had moved some funds around to protect our investments. That's how he put it. I asked why I hadn't been told, and he just shrugged. "It was easier this way," he said. "You were stressed from work." That sentence stuck with me. It was easier this way. For who? I should have pushed harder, but I didn't. I was still trying to keep the peace, still trying to believe that Adam had my back, that Evelyn meant well, that I was just overthinking things. But things kept piling up. Our mortgage terms changed, more than once. The property title showed up in a different format, with new signatures. I wasn't even sure what was happening until I called the bank one day to ask a simple question about our escrow. The representative paused and said, "Let me check with the authorized contact on the account." That wasn't me. That was the first time I truly felt fear. I started keeping a notebook. Every strange transaction, every conversation that didn't make sense, every time Adam deflected my questions. I didn't tell him, I didn't tell anyone. But I knew I had to pay attention. It was like waking up slowly in a room that's on fire. You don't smell the smoke at first, and by the time you do, the exits are already blocked. One day I found a notification from the county clerk's office about a deed change I never requested. I checked the documents online and saw my signature. Neat, precise, definitely not mine. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just miscommunication or bad advice. This was something else. This was planned. Adam changed too. He became withdrawn, defensive. He used to ask for my input on everything: groceries, weekend plans, finances. Now he'd shrug me off or say he already handled it. One night, I confronted him about another forged document I found. His reaction wasn't surprise or denial. It was annoyance. He said I was being paranoid, that Evelyn had it under control, that she knew what she was doing. That sentence chilled me. Evelyn knew what she was doing. That was the problem. She was moving money between accounts, consolidating assets, applying for things in our names. I still didn't know how deep it went, but I knew I was on the outside, looking in. My own husband had become a barrier between me and my life, and the woman who claimed she only wanted to protect our family was quietly cutting me out of it. I'd gone from partner to liability. And the worst part was, they were doing it together. The real break came one night while I was cleaning out old digital folders on my laptop. I was trying to free up space, deleting photos, receipts, and backups I didn't need anymore. That's when I found it, an unmarked folder buried inside another labeled Utilities. It didn't belong there. Inside were PDFs, screenshots, and one document simply titled Plan. I opened it, expecting something boring, maybe a budget worksheet. What I found instead was Evelyn's journal, or something like it. A document written in her voice, paragraph after paragraph of thoughts, plans, timelines. She had detailed notes on our finances, my job, my habits. She'd listed bank account numbers, passwords, even our monthly grocery budget. And then it got darker. There were lines about how I lacked vision, how someone more practical should be managing things, and how eventually she'll thank me for protecting what matters. I kept scrolling, my heart pounding, as she described conversations I'd had with Adam, twisted, reworded, reframed. She'd been documenting us like a science project. At the end of the document, she wrote something I'll never forget. Remove her gently. Minimize conflict. Retain Adam's trust. That sentence broke me. I sat there, stunned, staring at the screen, feeling like I had slipped into someone else's life. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just copied every file to a secure drive and backed it up 3 different ways. That's when everything shifted. I stopped asking questions. I stopped looking confused. I smiled more. I pretended things were normal, all while collecting evidence. I reached out to a lawyer, not the one we had used before, but someone completely new outside Evelyn's circle. Her name was Jessica, and she specialized in financial abuse. She listened. She didn't look surprised. She told me to keep quiet and keep gathering. That's when I started going through old emails, bank statements, tax filings. I printed out every piece of mail that looked off. I made copies of Adam's documents when he left them on the counter. I bought a small fireproof box and hid it in my office under a stack of cleaning supplies. Then I found the documents with my signature. Not just 1 or 2, but several. Refinance agreements, power of attorney renewals, asset transfers. All neatly signed, all clearly not mine. I'd never even seen some of these banks before. Jessica looked over the documents and nodded slowly. "This is serious," she said. "You need to be careful now. They're already committed to this. If they sense you're onto them, they'll escalate." And she was right, because things were about to get worse. It all exploded one Saturday afternoon. I had just come back from running errands when I noticed something odd. My garden shed was slightly open. I rarely used it, and I always locked it. When I stepped inside, everything seemed untouched at first. But when I checked the spot where I had hidden my backup USB drive, it was gone. No signs of forced entry, no mess, just gone. That's when the panic hit. Someone knew. Someone had been watching me, or Adam had figured it out and gone looking. Either way, the evidence I had worked so hard to gather had disappeared. It felt like the walls were closing in. I confronted Adam that evening. Not with yelling, not with tears. I was calm, too calm. I asked if he had been in the shed. He looked confused at first, then defensive. Said he didn't even know where. We kept the keys, but his eyes didn't match his words. I told him I knew about the documents, the forged signatures, the journal. I told him I had legal counsel and I was preparing to take action. That's when his mask cracked. He went from pretending to confuse denial to accusing me of spying, of trying to ruin the family. He said Evelyn was only trying to help, and if I didn't understand that, maybe I didn't belong in this family at all. That was the first honest thing he had said in months. What hit me the hardest wasn't his outburst. It was the realization that he believed it. That in his eyes, Evelyn was the protector, the planner, the one who really cared. I was just a problem to be managed, an obstacle to financial success. After he stormed out, I checked every hiding place I had left. Thankfully, I had kept multiple copies of everything. The missing USB wasn't a fatal blow, just a warning shot. And now I knew I was running out of time. That night, I didn't sleep. I went through every document again, scanned everything, twice, and called Jessica first thing in the morning. I told her it was time. No more pretending, no more stalling. We needed to act, because now they knew I was fighting back. And people like Evelyn don't let go easily. I packed a suitcase that night and left. No dramatic farewell, no final confrontation, just a quiet exit. I moved in with a coworker, someone I trusted completely. She didn't ask too many questions, just gave me space and a spare room. For the first time in months, I felt safe. Not entirely secure, but out of reach. Jessica and I continued building the case, going over every piece of evidence, ensuring we hadn't missed anything. Every signature, every transaction, every email, I had them all cataloged. But then came something I didn't expect. A letter. No return address. Just my name on the front, written in block letters. Inside, a short note. Stop before you destroy everything. No signature, no context, just that. It was the kind of message that tells you everything by saying almost nothing. I showed Jessica. She didn't flinch. That means they're nervous, she said. And that's good. We're close. I doubled down. We reached out to a mortgage specialist, my Uncle Ryan in St. Louis. He'd worked in real estate for decades and immediately spotted irregularities in the refinancing paperwork. This is layered, he said, flipping through the pages. This isn't just one bad form. This is coordinated. That word stuck with me, coordinated. It confirmed what I'd felt all along. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't overreacting. I was under siege. With everything compiled, documents, timelines, voice memos, and now even a threatening letter, I walked into the local police department and filed a report. The officer listened carefully, took notes, and asked if I had a lawyer. Yes, I said, and she's ready. I handed over a thick folder of everything we had. They told me it would take time, that these cases often do. But they also said I had done the right thing. And for the first time, I believed it. I didn't go back home. I stayed with my coworker, kept my phone on silent, and waited. I wasn't scared anymore, just tired and ready. It didn't take long after the report for things to start moving. Within a few weeks, Adam was served at the house I used to call home. According to Jessica, he looked surprised, but not confused. Evelyn was subpoenaed soon after. She didn't go quietly. She filed motions, tried to delay everything, even claimed I was unstable. But the evidence was overwhelming. Every forged document, every financial discrepancy, every pattern of behavior, it painted a clear picture. And I had the timeline to back it all up. The police opened a full fraud investigation. They brought in forensic accountants, subpoenaed bank records, and started tracing the financial paths Evelyn had carefully built. I stayed out of the spotlight, kept working my job remotely, stayed in my coworker's guest room until I could find something permanent. Adam tried calling a few times. I didn't answer. He left one voicemail, a mixture of apology and excuse. "We didn't mean for it to go this far," he said. That line stuck with me. Not the betrayal, not the lies, but the lack of ownership. Even now, he couldn't see the damage for what it was. Jessica and I prepared for court. There were depositions, sworn statements, interviews with investigators. It wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but it was happening. The legal system isn't quick with cases like this, but when it moves, it's methodical. Evelyn tried every trick. She could, delays, denials, even questioning the authenticity of her own journal. But she couldn't argue with my backups. She couldn't undo the paper trail she left behind. I started looking for a new place, far from Illinois, far from Adam, far from Evelyn. I needed clean air, a place where no one knew my name or my past. I found a quiet neighborhood outside Madison, Wisconsin. Small house, big windows, no drama. It wasn't just a change of address, it was a reset, the beginning of my life on my terms again. Looking back, I can see the signs I ignored. The way Evelyn always offered help that came with strings. The way Adam gradually stopped being a partner and started becoming a gatekeeper. I told myself it was just tension, just in-laws, just stress. But deep down, I knew. I didn't want to admit it because admitting it meant tearing apart the life I thought I had built. I thought love meant compromise. I didn't understand that. Sometimes what you're compromising is yourself. I've learned that control doesn't always look like shouting or threats. Sometimes it wears a smile, offers a cup of tea, and insists you let someone else handle things. Financial abuse is subtle. It's legal language and forged documents and slow isolation. But it's still abuse. And like all abuse, it thrives in silence. That's why I'm telling this story. Not for revenge, not even for justice. But because if even one person hears this and recognizes the signs in their own life, it's worth it. My life now is quiet, peaceful. I take walks, I plant things, I read more, I check my own accounts, sign my own documents, make my own decisions. There are still legal proceedings ahead, but I'm not afraid of them. I have people on my side now. I have my voice back. And most importantly, I have clarity. The kind that only comes after everything you thought was true falls apart, and you survive it. If you're in a situation that feels off, where you're being pushed aside, where decisions are being made without you, listen to that feeling. Don't wait for proof to trust your gut. Don't wait for things to get worse, because they will. Take control while you still can. And if you've already lost it, know this: you can get it back. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe for more true stories like this. You're not alone, and your story matters too.